And I want to look now a little more in depth here. We're joined in studio by investigative reporter Webster Tarpley. I want to talk to you about what happened today. Lauren was just talking about the fact that Citigroup has admitted that this is a glitch. But you say this is something called the Plunge Protection Team. Talk about this.
Yeah, the Plunge Protection Team, or President's Working Group on Financial Markets, is a semi-surreptitious group. They buy stock futures, and that's what brought back the market today. It's known as the PPT. Now, in terms of what happened, I'm afraid Citibank may be covering for a multitude of sins. There were already signs yesterday afternoon that one or more major U.S. hedge funds were bankrupt and were dumping assets. And I think that's also what was happening this afternoon. Overnight tonight, I think other hedge funds are likely to go belly up. There could be massive panic selling tomorrow morning. The reason that it went down 1,000 points, the worst point drop in all of history, is probably got to do with program trading and high-frequency trading, which is another good reason to ban program trading and high-frequency trading.
We keep hearing the word over and over, crisis. I want to talk to you sort of about what kind of crisis this is. Some say it's a recession. Some say it's a depression. What do you think? I
think after today, it's clear this is a world economic depression of cataclysmic proportions. It's not a boom and bust. It's not a business cycle event. It's a breakdown crisis. It's a world depression. You could say in 2008 it was the U.S. and the British dragging the world into a crisis. No more. Now we've got Europe, we've got Brazil, we've got Argentina, we've got other countries that will be joining in. The southern tier of the euro, of course, plays the big role. And it's a disintegration. In other words, what does this lead to? It leads to the disintegration of the euro, to the disintegration of the European Central Bank. Quite possibly, the British pound is going to be pulled into panic runs and disintegration. And the euro-dollar market. Don't forget that, because that's something that's often forgotten about. Remember, the depression the last time around came in 3 waves. You had the New York crash of 1929, stock market panic. Then you had, what's often forgotten, the collapse of Europe in the summer of 1931, from Austria in May to Germany, Eastern Europe, and then the Bank of England went bankrupt on September 21st, 1931, and then that came back in the 3rd wave to the U.S. as a banking panic. This time we had Lehman Brothers, September 2008. Now we've got the collapse of Europe, starts in Greece, goes on from there, and the 3rd wave growing out of that, I think, is likely to be some kind of panic run on the Federal Reserve, the IMF, the dollar, and so forth. So that's a world depression.
All right, let's talk about this, though. You're in Europe. What do you do to protect yourself and protect your country and the Eurozone?
Look, this has nothing to do with Greece in the sense of some guy's vacation or retirement or his little pension salary or whatever he's got. This is the hedge funds, the hedge fund hyenas, and the zombie banks are attacking Greece as a means of attacking the euro. So if you're the European Central Bank overnight, I would recommend, if you're under attack by hedge funds, Soros and the rest of them, ban hedge funds. If you're under attack using credit default swaps, ban credit default swaps. We just saw collateralized debt obligations, synthetic CDOs, even blank fine of Goldman Sachs says those could be banned. So ban them. By the way, Goldman Sachs and some of these other groups should be kicked out of Europe. There's no reason to permit them to operate. The Tobin tax, the 1% Robin Hood tax or securities transfer tax, ought to be imposed on derivatives and other speculation to discourage it. And then you need Glass-Steagall to take speculation out of the hands of the banks. Now, a little bit beyond this, it's so bad I want to ask, what would Herbert Hoover do? And what would Herbert Hoover do? He did one good thing.
I don't hear many people asking what would Herbert Hoover do.
One good thing, and shows how bad it is. In June of 1931, he proposed the Hoover Moratorium. Look it up. It's a freeze on all major governmental debt payments among Germany, France, Britain, and the United States. It would have been good to stop the Depression the other time around. What we would need is a statesman today to rise to the level of Herbert Hoover, because nobody has done it so far. Maybe Sarkozy or somebody. It would be to say that some great power will support and promote orderly debt freezes by the countries who need them. And those are obviously Greece, Portugal, Spain, Ireland, Italy, Iceland, Latvia, and so on. Maybe Sarkozy could capture the imagination of the world. Maybe if he doesn't do it, Berlusconi will get ahead of him. He may have to. The other thing would be a world derivatives freeze on that 1.5 quadrillion of toxic paper.
All right, I'm going to have to cut you off right there. Investigative journalist Webster Tarpley.
Thank you.